Picture this. You're sitting at the kitchen table on a random Tuesday afternoon, maybe with a cup of coffee that's starting to get a little cold because you got distracted staring at a piece of paper. And that piece of paper isn't a bill. It's not a statement. It is the actual, physical, stamped and notarized deed to your home, and right below it, a letter from your bank that basically says, "Congratulations, your mortgage is paid in full." You've spent 30 years, maybe 360 months exactly, sending a chunk of your hard-earned money to some faceless corporation. You sacrificed vacations, you drove cars a few years longer than you wanted to, you probably lost sleep over interest rates back in the 80s or 90s. And now, it's done. Zero balance. You own this house outright. And in that exact moment, there is this incredible, almost overwhelming wave of relief. You feel like you just put down a 200-pound backpack that you didn't even realize you were still carrying. You think to yourself, I finally made it. I am completely, totally safe. But here's the thing that nobody warns you about, and honestly, it's something that keeps me up at night more than almost anything else in the personal finance space. My name is Zach, and I spend way too much time thinking about money, financial psychology, and why some people seem to effortlessly protect their wealth while others have it silently drained right out from under them, even when they think they're doing everything perfectly right. And that wave of safety you feel when you pay off your house? It is a complete and total illusion. In fact, from a purely statistical standpoint, the exact moment you pay off that mortgage, you actually become a massive target. You step right into the crosshairs of a very specific, very calculated type of fraud that targets retirees exclusively, and once you see how it works, you're never going to look at your mailbox or your phone the same way again. Stick with me here, because understanding this isn't just about protecting your credit score or putting a freeze on an account. This is about understanding the psychology of predators, how public records work against you, and the 3 specific steps you need to take right now to make sure that piece of paper on your kitchen table actually means what you think it means. So, let's get into the mechanics of why this happens. And to do that, we have to talk about something incredibly boring: county recorders. You know, whenever you buy a house, or refinance, or finally pay it off, that transaction gets recorded at your local county office. It's public record. It has to be, right? That's how we prove who owns what in this country. It's the foundation of property rights. But somewhere along the way, we forgot that public means exactly that. Anybody, at any time, can go down to the county clerk's office, or log into their website, and pull up your address, your name, and here's the kicker: whether or not there is a lien or a mortgage attached to your property. There are actually data brokerage companies that do nothing but scrape these public records all day long. They run algorithms looking for one very specific trigger: a home going from having a mortgage attached to it to having zero debt. It's like a bloodhound catching a scent. And why do they care? Because a 68-year-old retiree living in a paid-off house is the holy grail of targets. You have equity. You have an asset that is completely unencumbered, which is just a fancy word for saying there's no bank standing in the way of someone trying to steal it from you. I was talking to a guy last month. Let's call him Arthur. Arthur is 72, lives in a beautiful but modest 3-bedroom ranch in a suburb in Arizona. He'd just made his last payment. A few weeks later, he started getting these official-looking letters in the mail. They had seals on them, they used legal jargon, and they said things like "urgent notice regarding your property deed" and "action required to verify ownership." Arthur, being a responsible guy who just spent decades paying off a house, thought this was just part of the final paperwork. He didn't want to mess up the finalization of his ownership. So, he read the letter, which basically offered to send him a certified copy of his new, clean deed for a nominal fee of like $89. He filled out the form, put his credit card info on there, and mailed it back. What did he get? A poorly printed piece of paper that he could have gotten at the county office for $2. But the real damage wasn't the $89. By filling out that verification form, he had just inadvertently handed over his signature, his phone number, and his email to a lead generation company. Within a month, Arthur's phone started ringing off the hook. He got calls about final expense life insurance, reverse mortgages, timeshare exits, you name it. He was suddenly on what they call in the industry a sucker list. And it all started because that public record flipped, and the vultures were alerted. You have to understand, this isn't just annoying spam. This is the reconnaissance phase of a much larger, much more insidious problem. Once you're on that list, the scammers start probing. They're looking for cognitive leaks. They want to see if you're easily confused, if you're lonely, if you have a hard time hanging up on people. Which brings me to the absolute biggest fraud risk you face the moment that mortgage is gone, and it's the one that scares me the most: title fraud. Sometimes this is called house stealing, and it sounds like something out of a movie, but I promise you it is incredibly real. Here is how it plays out. Because your house is paid off, there's no bank monitoring the title. When you have a mortgage, your lender has a vested interest in making sure nobody else tries to claim ownership. They have automated systems that flag weird recordings. But when you pay them off, they record a release of lien, they hand you the keys, and they walk away. You are completely on your own. So, a criminal will pull your public information. They'll forge a deed, sometimes using the signature they harvested from a junk mail scam like Arthur's, or sometimes just forging it entirely, and they'll file it with the county. Suddenly, according to the county recorder, your house belongs to a shell company or a fake person. Then, the criminal goes to a hard money lender or an unsuspecting bank, takes out a massive mortgage on their new property, walks away with $200,000 in cash, and disappears. And you don't know a single thing about it until you get a foreclosure notice on your door for a loan you never took out. Or worse, you try to sell the house to move into an assisted living facility in 5 years, and the title company finds out there's a lien on your property from some shady lender you've never heard of. Unraveling that legal nightmare can cost tens of thousands of dollars in attorney fees and take years. It is a complete disaster. And it happens almost exclusively to people who own their homes free and clear. Retirees. It makes me angry, honestly. We spend our whole lives playing by the rules. We do the right thing. We pay the bank, we sacrifice, we finally reach the finish line, and the finish line is actually just a starting line for people who want to take it away. It feels like you're playing a game of Monopoly. You finally get all the green properties, and someone just reaches across the board and swaps your deed when you go to the bathroom. It's violating. But here is where we shift from the problem to the solution, because you are not helpless in this. Not even close. The system is flawed, but once you understand the flaws, you can build a fortress around that kitchen table. There are 3 very specific things you need to do, as soon as humanly possible, once that mortgage is paid off. And I don't mean next month. I mean this week. First, you need to proactively freeze your credit with all 3 major bureaus: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. Now, a lot of people hear, freeze my credit, and they think, Zach, I'm retired, I'm not buying a car, I'm not getting a new credit card, why do I care? Because a credit freeze is the ultimate kill switch for identity thieves. Even if a scammer gets your signature, even if they have your social security number, if your credit is frozen, they cannot open a new line of credit in your name. They cannot go to a bank and take out a fraudulent mortgage on your house because the bank will try to pull your credit, get a big red lock screen, and deny the application. It is the single most effective, free tool you have at your disposal. You can unfreeze it any time you legitimately need it, like if you're applying for a rewards credit card to use on a vacation, and then just freeze it again when you're done. Do it today. It takes about 20 minutes online. Second, you need to sign up for a property monitoring service or a title alert system. A lot of county recorder offices now offer this for free. You go to their website, you plug in your name and your parcel number, and you register your email address and your phone number. From that moment on, if any document is filed regarding your property, whether it's a lien, a deed transfer, a release, anything, you get an automated alert. It's like a burglar alarm for your property's legal standing. If you get an alert on a Tuesday afternoon saying a new deed was recorded, and you're sitting in your living room knowing you didn't sign a deed, you can call the county immediately and say, "Stop this, it's fraud." Catching it on day 1 prevents the months-long legal nightmare of trying to undo it after the fact. If your county doesn't offer this, there are third-party services like Home Title Lock or similar companies that do it for a small monthly fee. Honestly, for the peace of mind, it's worth the price of a couple of cups of coffee. And third, and this one is a behavioral shift, not a technical one, you have to completely redefine how you interact with unsolicited communications. Retirees grew up in an era where if the phone rang, you answered it. If a letter came in the mail with an official seal, you read it and you complied. That politeness, that inherent trust in institutions, is exactly what these people are weaponizing against you. You need to adopt what I call the zero trust policy for anything you didn't ask for. If someone calls you claiming to be from the county, from your utility company, from your bank, or from a property records division, hang up. I don't care if they have your address. I don't care if they have the last 4 digits of your social. Hang up. Look up the number yourself on the back of your statement or on the official.gov website, and call them back if you think it might be real. 9 times out of 10, it won't be. And those official-looking letters you get offering to sell you a copy of your deed? Throw them directly into the shredder. You do not need them. If you want a copy of your clean deed, drive down to the county clerk, pay your $2, and get it yourself. Stop engaging with the noise. I know this sounds cynical. I know it feels like you're closing yourself off. But we're not talking about being rude to your neighbors or ignoring your grandkids. We're talking about recognizing that the financial landscape has changed. The people running these scams are not lone wolves in a basement somewhere. Many of them are highly organized, transnational criminal enterprises. They have call centers, they have scripts written by psychologists, they have access to the same data brokers that legitimate companies do. You cannot fight them with good manners. You fight them with boundaries and with systems. It's funny, when I talk to people about this, there's usually a moment of resistance. People say, "But Zach, I've lived here for 40 years, everybody knows me, who would do this?" And I get it. You feel safe in your neighborhood. You know the mailman, you know the guy at the hardware store. But the person trying to steal your equity isn't in your neighborhood. They're sitting in a cubicle 3,000 miles away, looking at a spreadsheet. They don't know you. To them, you are just a row of data that says, paid off, yes. Age, 71. Equity, high. They don't care about your memories of teaching your daughter to ride a bike in that driveway. They don't care about the garden you planted in the backyard. They only see a liquid asset that can be converted into cash. Depersonalizing it like that helps, I think. It helps you understand that this isn't personal, which means you don't have to take it personally when you hang up on them. You're just deleting a spam folder in real life. Let's bring this all back down to earth. Think about that piece of paper on your kitchen table again. That deed. That letter from the bank. The feeling of finally being free of that monthly payment is real, and you should absolutely celebrate it. You have achieved something that a huge percentage of the population never will. You have secured your shelter. You have a paid-off asset that can cushion your retirement, that can be passed down to your kids, that gives you an incredible sense of stability. But that asset needs a guard dog now. For 30 years, the bank was the guard dog, whether you liked them or not. They were watching the title because they had a financial interest in it. Now, the bank is gone. You are the guard dog. And the good news is, being a guard dog in the digital age doesn't require you to be a tech genius. It just requires you to be proactive. Freeze the credit. Set up the property alerts. Shred the fake deed offers. Hang up the phone. Taking these steps doesn't mean you're living in fear. In fact, it's the exact opposite. When you know you've closed the loopholes, when you know the alarms are set, you can actually relax. You can sit on your back patio, look at the house you spent a lifetime paying for, and genuinely enjoy it, because you know you've done the work to make sure it stays yours. So, if you're watching this and you recently paid off your house, or you're about to, or you know a parent or a grandparent who just did, don't wait. Pause this video, open a new tab, and go freeze your credit right now. It takes 20 minutes, and it might just save you the worst headache of your life. You've worked too hard, for too long, to let someone take it away with a forged signature and a phone call. Protect it. You've earned that peace of mind.